Pastor Diana. Welcome to a daily devotion. I'm so glad you've chosen to take a moment out of what may be a busy day to spend some time with God. This week we are continuing our exploration of grace and what amazing grace is. And we're doing this by exploring what is probably the familiar and perhaps beloved song, Amazing Grace. It was written by John Newton, who was born in 1725. And we're going verse by verse to talk about what it is. And Newton has a very special story because when he talks about grace, he knows what it is to experience God's grace. So after Newton was born and he was raised and he actually was held captive by a slave trader, he did something horrible and despicable and sinful. He became a slave trader himself. And he was a slave trader for 6 years. He transported slaves back to England and other places. And then he realized that it was wrong. And he had to face what he had done. And his personal life and knowing that he had taken the freedom and had harmed other human beings influenced him. So when he talks about grace and God's gift of grace, he knows it's for him and for others. Paul parts it this way in Romans chapter 5, verse 8. But God shows his love for us, because while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. You know, that is something that Newton had to face, that he was a sinner, and yet Christ died for him. And it is in that weird in-between place of knowing the gift of God's grace while also knowing that you are a sinner and that you have made mistakes, like we all have. We have all missed the mark. We have all harmed people. But knowing that God's grace is offered to you, even then, that's pretty amazing. So I want you to think about the words to the second verse of this hymn. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. You know, I think Newton is onto something there of the awe and wonder and also fear of what it means for God's grace. Because if Jesus died for us while we were yet sinners, and God offers that grace, that unconditional love and forgiveness and mercy to us and to everyone, what does that mean for us? It helps us both recognize how we have missed the mark, how we have sinned, and at the same time, we know that that grace is given to us without us doing anything. And so Newton's verse reminds us of that way, of those back and forth, of that push and pull of those emotions of grace, knowing that we are both forgiven, and yet we still fall short. But God's grace is always there to pick us up. And that truly is a precious, precious gift. So what do you need? What is making your heart fear today? How do you need to think about missing the mark in some way? What does that make you feel? And then how does God's grace, God's unconditional love freely given to you, help you move through that so that you can go and share God's love with the world? Because that is amazing, and that is a precious gift, and that is why grace matters. May God's grace fill your heart this week.